Hi guys, so over the next number of hours before the confidence vote, you will hear from Tory MPs and ministers as they rally around the Prime Minister. They have been given their talking points by Tory Party HQ, those being Boris Johnson won an 80-seat majority, Boris Johnson got Brexit done, Boris Johnson led on Ukraine, Boris Johnson saw the fastest rollout of the vaccine, etc, etc. Now, Alastair Campbell, Tony Blair's former spokesman, believes that the Prime Minister will win this confidence vote, but he will not last long as Prime Minister and as Tory leader, because he and his ministers have lost the trust of the public, and Tory MPs sitting in seats that could see them replaced by Labour and Lib Dems are deeply concerned. Have a listen to what Alastair had to say.
That while you've got somebody like Johnson as Prime Minister of this country, there can be no integrity and honesty in our public life. And that is what you saw happening. And I think the penny dropped for a few of these MPs, including ministers, many of whom tonight will actually, whatever they say to you, whatever they tweet, they know they are done for if this guy carries on as Prime Minister and as Conservative Party leader. And that's why, although I think he will win tonight, he will not survive long term the consequence of what has happened today. And thank God for that, because this country has had enough damage done to it by his ego, his narcissism, his incompetence, his uselessness, and that useless nodding dog cabinet who humiliate and debase themselves every time they go out and pretend that he's some kind of Winston Churchill.
Don't hold back there, Alastair. Yes, and that's what you're going to see. But those tweets that MPs and ministers will put out in support of Boris Johnson are not really in support of Johnson. They're more to show the party that they are on the side of the Prime Minister, because it's important for certain politicians within the party. They want to rise in the ranks, and they want to be selected again as ministers, for example. So they have to show the party, yes, I'm a good politician, I'm a good member of the Conservative Party, I'm a good minister, I'm a good MP, I'm putting the party first. Not the country, to hell with the country, I'm putting the party first. And they will say, yes, I'm supporting the Prime Minister. That's why you're not seeing many ministers, or any ministers, I think, criticising Johnson.
But, you know, he had cheers as well. You know, people were cheering him at the weekend. So let's not for one second think, Alastair, that the whole country is against this man, because they're not.
I didn't say they were. I didn't say they were. I've never, ever claimed to speak for the whole country. Nobody should. There will be some people who still like him. There'll be some people who think that he, quotes, got Brexit done, even if it's a total disaster. There'll be some people who think he's a character and they make him laugh. Fine. My point, as making an assessment as somebody who's worked with prime ministers, who understands how government works, there is nobody in this country, in my view, less suited to be Prime Minister than Boris Johnson.
And unfortunately for the Conservatives, there doesn't seem to be anyone who can replace him. Johnson is the worst, in Alastair Campbell's opinion. But who is stepping into his seat, into his place? Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak crashed and burned, and that, you know, there are allegations that, or there are rumours that Johnson may have been behind the collapse in his support. But there's no one really ready to take over the reins, and in a sense it is a poisoned chalice, because Brexit is a disaster. You even have Tory MPs suggesting it would be a good idea to rejoin the single market, undoing Brexit in a sense. If you're at that stage, who wants to take over? And who would take over? Because would it be a Brexiteer, or would it be somebody a bit more pragmatic?
Roger Gale said that. Every single other candidate that's being mentioned, for all that they're pretty useless, most of them, every single one would be better than Boris Johnson. So yes, he's got supporters. But my point is, for once, can the Conservative Party stop thinking about its own interests, what they define as their electoral interests come the next general election? Can they actually, for once, put the national interest first, understand he's reducing this country to a global joke, he's introducing corruption into our contracting, he's breaking the rule of law, and that fundamental principle is destroying many of the institutions that make this country great, and the sooner he's gone the better. And sadly, because we're nowhere near a general election, the only people that can deal with this at this moment are those Conservative MPs. Find a spine, find a conscience, and actually, just for once, do the right thing.
The problem with that is that the Conservatives will always look after the party first. Because, as I said before, there are members of the party who want to eventually become ministers someday, or they want to become a Secretary of State someday, or they want to become Prime Minister one day. So they have to show party loyalty. And if that means allowing the country to burn, that's what they'll do. They will always put their career before the country, and the party will always put the party before the country. So it's likely the next person who eventually does replace Johnson will be a career politician, and it won't be a step up. It'll be probably a step down even. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.